It's a question echoing throughout the liberal verse. Why don't we have a Rogan? Where's our Elon? Well, it's simple. You had Rogan. You had Elon. You even had me in college. But who didn't? Back then, all it took was a lukewarm Zima. Truth is, in the intolerant world the Dems created, no one like Rogan or Musk can exist. And that's because to attract people like that, you need freedom of thought, or hell, any thought at all. So how did the Democrat Party get here? Well, first, it was the lazy way out. Rather than making policies that benefit Americans, they slid mindlessly into the toxic bath of identity politics. This wasn't thinking, it was the cessation of thought, like when you're in a coma or watching Fox and Friends.
Aww.
Aww. Shut up. Their discussions were never about what can we fix or what can we create. Instead, they began and ended with who I am and why it makes me better than you. They turned everything into an identity pissing contest with their egos as a diuretic. Now, if you could claim some intersectionality, you were a neighborhood celebrity, especially if that neighborhood was a college campus or a newsroom. But as these scolds got louder and louder and more of our media invertebrates cowered into line, the resistance started to look a lot like the First Amendment. Ordinary people wanted the freedom from being canceled. And that's where the Musks and Rogans came from. They were the revolution. They were the resistance. So you can't be the resistance when you're the machine controlling all thought. It's why they couldn't create their own Rush Limbaugh or their own Twitter. The left turned into everything they used to hate about the right. It's been the ugliest transition since Admiral Levine turned in his boots for pumps. The machine can't make its own resistance. The resistant leaves, and you're left with humorless, hectoring hags like Joy Reid, who's shedding viewers faster than her hair. So are the Dems ready to give up and grow up? Well, here's Jen Psaki doubling down that dissent is disinformation that must be regulated.
One of the things that's changed even since I got involved in politics is just the rise of the percentage of people who get their information off of platforms that have no fact-checking mechanism and no accountability for having disinformation spread. Laws have to change. I don't even know the total answer to it, but that seems to me to be a core issue.
That was on Katie Couric's podcast, which is slightly more thoughtful than her colonoscopy.
Oh my God.
Remember that? Still, they embrace censorship rather than figure out what they did wrong. But there's another reason the Democrat media complex can't change: ego. Rather than identify with real people, they chose to please the peers in their industry because that's where the cocktail party is. That's where they can impress people who might write about them in Vanity Fair. Their egos need that. So they mirrored each other's assumptions. It was a giant circle jerk, emphasis on jerk. But as they no longer identified with real people, an orange billionaire with brass balls and a willingness to call bull did. And by standing up and yelling, fight, 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 he attracted renegades inspired by his fearlessness. You saw them at the UFC, on the street, at football games. They're no longer afraid to speak their minds. And if you don't like it, cool, there's the door, if you can fit your fat ass through it. Let's welcome tonight's guest. As a retired spy, he has an ejector seat in his Kia. Host of the President Daily Brief podcast, Mike Baker. She talks so fast, her tonsils get shin splints. Author of the new book, Under His Wings, Emily Campagno. This Thanksgiving, his kids are thankful for their new dad. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. She thought a baby shower meant she would be hit by falling babies. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Kat Tiff. Mike, we haven't talked since the election.
We have not.
Yes, I'm kind of interested in reaction, because you weren't early on the pirate ship. You were kind of like me at the beginning with Trump. Has he won you over? Do you see the appeal now? Do you understand it?
Well, I've always seen the appeal of the policies, and I've always said that, right? Which is that, look, I'm a small government guy. Just get on with the things that the country's supposed to be doing. I'm very appreciative of the fact that the election turned out the way it did. And I think that, the country's going to be better off for it, both from an economic perspective and a national security perspective. And I'm also delighting to some degree in the angst of a lot of people that just find this, they can't stop themselves, right? And I think they're very confused. You had a large percentage of that, half of the country, who spent all this time absorbing the information that Trump was the end of democracy. Trump was a Nazi. And then a day and a half after the election, Joe Biden came out and said, we're going to be fine.
Right.
Everything's going to be fine. And so I think at that moment in time, I think a lot of those people said, well, what the was that all about then?
Yeah, absolutely. I call it's the Gelman amnesia effect. If they were lying about something I understood, which was being a Trump supporter, what else are they lying about?
Right.
Therefore, I can no longer trust them on anything. I do believe with all my heart that the media is dead. I don't think anybody's reading any of the negative stories about anybody. I hope, Emily, they are reading your new book, Under His Wings. This is the story of her secret affair with Colonel Sanders.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You guys, don't listen to him. That's not true.
It's how faith on the front lines has protected American troops. Congratulations. Comes out tomorrow.
Thank you. It comes out the 26th.
Oh, the 26th. That is Thanksgiving.
It's that week. But you can order it right now on
Yes,
pre-order.
you should order it right now.
Thanks,
if you don't,
guys.
she'll cry.
Right there.
Thanks.
All right. Emily.
I'll be honest with you. I was going to order it when I thought it was about you and Colonel Sanders.
I'll tell you.
It is not. Do not start that.
I'll tell you, though, banging Colonel Sanders was always on my bucket list. Who thought there was a joke out of that?
Gosh.
Emily, it is interesting, though, because, like, people see, like, the UFC thing. They see the football. It looks like a lot of fun. And the media was telling us that the people that were having fun were actually the bad guys.
Right, and the thing is, they still are.
Yeah.
So we heard Jen Psaki just say that, by the way, she said everyone who voted for Trump, she said the vast majority of them get their information from a non-vetted source that hasn't been fact-checked. So she is telling over 76 million Americans, by the way, which is a historical number, that they don't know what they're talking about. That's and by the way, she's like 21. So the fact that she prefaced it by saying, like, since I've entered politics, so in the last 5 years, that's a problem. This entire time, the majority of Americans have had an elitist, highly educated individual telling them what they should feel, what they should see, what they should think. And if they were already part of the Democrat Party, if they didn't think that way, they were excommunicated. And if they were a patriot and were part of the GOP, then they were told, no, your bank account doesn't matter, your experiences don't matter. So of course everyone revolted because they just were sick of the pathological lying. You know, under this administration and the agency that you hailed from, there are bumper stickers allowed on cars there that say Trump is a terrorist. How is that okay? What
are you looking at me for?
How is that okay, Baker? Right, so that's the whole point, how deeply eroded the insidious tendrils of this administration has, and for how long that machine has been allowed to fester. That's the whole point. So now all of that is being ripped off. And you know what I love the most? Is how Trump, like, literally enters anything the exact same, whether it's UFC or, like, this set.
Yeah, it doesn't change.
No, he's the same human all day, every day, generous and normal and just like, what's up, y'all? And it's everyone around him that are
changes.
like, yeah.
There's no fake accents at all.
Nope.
No, you know.
That's right.
And they're all, and he's become kind of like a folk hero meme, Jamie. You know, you are somebody that is so familiar with rejection. You face it every day. It seems to me that the Democrats are failing their first lesson of loss, which is understand why.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought you made a great point, too, that they're trying to please people in their camp and not. It almost reminds me of like comedians that play to the back of the room and you only make the comics laugh. There is an audience there, right? And when the guy on CNN said, he was like, oh, it's like ancient Rome and these political gladiators, I was like, thanks. Like, it was almost like an insult that wasn't an insult. Like, look at you and your huge I feel like that was a nice thing. And isn't
that's how I interpreted it.
Right? And isn't it better than the current administration that's like a zombie surrounded by the cast of Cocoon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Trump's everywhere, man. That's gotta hurt, right? You don't get your candidate, and then you just see everywhere you go, there's like dancing, right? And I was like, that's so cool that he has. I could never have like a dance where people would like do, you know, you didn't want to see somebody spike a football and then pretend to masturbate and wipe tears out of their eyes.
Well, that was a sad ending. You know, but Kat, before he went down that dark road.
That's what they call it in a massage. When they don't do that, they call it a sad ending.
I don't. Kat, he did make a good point, though. Imagine if you ugly breakup, but you see your ex everywhere. This is different than most. It's like he's right. Trump is everywhere. So they not only did they lose, but everywhere they go, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like getting dumped by somebody on a really small college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you have to just do your best to act normal.
Yes.
You know? That's to act normal. Like everything's fine. And I think that's actually what the problem is with a lot of these people, specifically that CNN clip, great example. You gotta just like, people wanna act normal and people are sick of being told that things they know are normal are weird. Like, you watch that UFC, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
Anybody looking at that, that looks like fun. And instead of either acknowledging that or saying nothing or saying even maybe, oh, it doesn't look like fun, he has to say, you know what that reminds me of? You know, back in the day when humans used to watch each other kill each other for sport. And people are like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all remind anyone of that. But I think that it's like, okay, not just what you're doing is not normal and it's not fun, but it's actually really evokes something very seriously problematic and dark. Like when the Trump at MSG was compared to a Nazi rally, I thought for sure it had to have been like some sort of, even for them to make that accusation, which I certainly thought was ridiculous, but I was like, was it on the same anniversary or something? No, it was just also at MSG, which was also at a different location. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't understand when people are gonna learn that people just wanna be able to act like normal.
Yeah. And you know what? It's great to have fun. And when the other side can't figure that out, they're never going to have fun. And I'm the king of fun. What, Baker? I hope this is worth it.
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm confused over one thing. So you didn't do Colonel Sanders?
No.
Oh my gosh! That's disgusting! And isn't he a cartoon?
That was worth it, by the way.
Oh my
That
God.
was worth it. Sometimes he goes off on a tangent, but in that case, I enjoyed that.
Okay.
All right, up next, they used to disagree. Now they bend the knee.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.